Welcome to the Legendary podcast, powered by Procstat. Today's conversation is truly special for me and for everyone listening from all over the world. As today, I'm sitting down with someone who has impacted millions of lives globally through his mindset, leadership, and business transformation. Sir Darren Jacklin, an entrepreneur, a speaker, a mentor to top 500 leaders, and someone who understands both human psychology as well as business growth at deep levels. I'm really excited to bring in his journey and insights to who he really is. So, Darren, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here.
I'm grateful to be here. Thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to be of service.
Same here, Sir Darren. Sir Darren, before we start, and I believe before all the success and the growth we see today that has been associated to you, can we take a step back for a moment? And I would really love to understand your journey from the beginning. What were you like a young Darren? And what shaped you all those years? Though I would say you still look as young as before, as if you're not aging at all.
Absolutely. Well, full transparency. I'm a transparent person. I had a lot of adversities, challenges, setbacks, and failures and disappointments as a kid. I failed grade 1 of public school, and I was misdiagnosed with a learning disability and a reading disability. And it was determined by the public school system that I was unfit to attend regular public school. So they brought in both my mother and my father, sat them down for a school meeting, and they said, based on your child's, academic marks here in elementary school in grade 1, he's probably not going to graduate grade 1. We're going to fail him and hold him back. So what they did is they put me into what we call special education here in North America, special ed. And I was in a assisted teaching school with just a few students that were special needs or mentally retarded kids. And so at age 7, because of childhood trauma, I actually created my first business by knocking on lots and lots of doors in my neighborhood. And I created a business called Rent-A-Kid. Rent-A-Kid. I would go out and cut grass, shovel snow in the wintertime, deliver newspapers 6 days a week, and do different odd jobs to serve my community by solving a problem as a fair means of exchange to collect money. And so I felt that, if I wanted to buy a bicycle or I wanted to buy something, if I went out and served my community and solved a problem, because we don't have money problems in life, we have thinking problems in life. There's no lack of money in the world. And so what I did is I went out, I started serving my community. And what I realized was going to school created a lot of pain in my life, but going to knock on doors and serve my community gave me a lot of pleasure. And so I took massive action and knocked on many, many doors all over my community, selling my Rent-A-Kid business services. Then I started to recruit my friends, which today, 45 plus years later, we're still great friends to this day. Some of my friends, my childhood friends. And so I grew up, struggling academically in school, in elementary, junior high, and high school. Got taken out of class in grade 11 in high school one day. And I was said, based on my academic marks, I was a D student. I'm probably not going to graduate grade 12. And so they said, if you do graduate from high school, what do you want to do with your life? And I said, I want to make a lot of money. I want to have a lot of fun. I want to make a big difference in the world. But I want to use money as a tool to solve problems and serve people. And the end game was to actually eventually do philanthropy, which I'm doing today. But that's what it was for me, was to really make a difference. And so, I struggled through school. It was not easy for me. I was very bored through school, but I learned a lot. But what I really learned was actually out on the street, solving problems, serving my community. And today we call that entrepreneurship, really solving problems. But I did graduate from high school, barely. I was a D student. And then I left high school to do multiple suicide attempts to end my life because I didn't have any self-confidence, didn't have any direction, no focus. And I felt that I was not good enough. It was a big thing for me was I'm not good enough. And I felt that in my life, I always felt misunderstood. So 2 driving factors in my life was I'm misunderstood and I'm not good enough. And so that fueled me later in life to become entrepreneurial, but not to become a business operator, to become a business owner, because I failed at times. I screwed up. I made a lot of mistakes as a business operator. Now, today I'm in my 50s. I'm now a business owner and build multi-7-figure companies across North America and have done well. And today I just keep growing and scaling those companies through mergers and acquisitions because it's easier to acquire revenue than to actually go out and create revenue by looking for customers or clients and selling them a product or a service and collecting that money. So it's easier to establish and acquire well-established businesses that already have positive cash flow. And what I like monthly recurring revenue, MRR, monthly recurring revenue. That's a game changer. And to go from transactional income to monthly recurring income. And so, I've traveled the world. I've trained over 1 million people around the world. I've been to NASDAQ 3 times in New York City during the closing bell. I got knighted a few years ago, and I've created a book with my team that went to over 100 countries around the world called Until I Become, which is serving people all over the world today. So I have quite an amazing story of, statistically, I was once homeless. I lived on the streets. I was on welfare, eating my next meal of a garbage dumpster. So I've had quite a journey, but I'm blessed with gratitude that I wouldn't change anything because I've learned a lot by being on the streets and having some tough love.
Yeah. So that's truly inspirational, I believe so, Darren. And why do I say that? Because I somehow feel that I can relate with that. I would like to share my story a little bit on that as well. This was in 2016 or 17, I believe, so Darren. That was a time I would say that was not going well. I just post-graduated from a very nice college in Delhi University over here in India. And I was searching for my dream job. I was of an intention that I'll get my dream job on the first day. It took me about 6-7 months. I was struggling around, but I couldn't find my dream job. My parents on the back end used to tell me, like, Vishesh, go in and take the job you're able to find and then try and upskill yourself going forward. But at that time, I was so finicky in my mind, I was not able to do that. So once a day, it was maybe Friday, I believe, I had an argument with my parents and I left home. I was walking down the road. You won't believe, Sir Darren, I walked for about 4 hours. And then suddenly it clicked and there was a temple around me. I went inside and there was too many homeless people who actually didn't have food to eat. And people were coming and giving them food. And that clicked in my mind, Sir Darren, that we are so fortunate enough. So God has given us so much. We should cherish that. And that was the moment I went back to home. I said sorry to my parents. And within a week, that was no brainer. I got a job and I tried to upskill myself from that on. So do you feel, is there any phase in your life wherein you actually thought that now your trajectory has changed, not over the outside, but from inside as to how you think? Yeah.
Absolutely, for sure. Never forget where we come from. And, I used to, when I'd pull up to a petrol station, a gas station, I used to look at gas prices, right? And I would come from a lack and scarcity mindset. I grew up with a lot of lack and scarcity, right? Out of fear. And today I come from abundance and prosperity, where I said earlier, we don't have money problems in life. We have thinking problems in life. You could take me to any country in the world, whether I speak the language or not, and drop me in that country. Within 24 hours, I would find where money hangs out. I'd go to a hotel, a 4 or 5-star hotel. I'd go to an affluent or rich neighborhood, and I'd find a way to provide a service or solve a problem and make a difference. And that's what I always do, is solving a problem. And so I've learned a big thing now in life is that, when we're struggling, it's that we're being selfish and we're focused on ourselves versus being of service to other people. And how can we make a difference in other people's lives? Because our success is someone else's miracle. So I find what's really shifted in my mindset today is to take the focus off of me and be of service and contribution and love and generosity towards other people and create that ripple of impact. And that's the key thing. So whenever I feel like I'm struggling, I'm focused on myself versus focused on community and serving people and making a difference. And now with technology and social media, we can reach the planet all over Earth in many, many countries, continents, different time zones, people from all walks of life from all over the planet in this global village to really make a difference. And so the bigger the game we play, the more people we can serve, the more problems we can solve, the more we can make a difference.
Very true. So Darren, I believe, you are the right person to ask this question. I certainly have this question in my mind since past 2 weeks. So you have been working and you have been through with some of the top performers globally, top successful people. So what do you feel? What separates people who are actually able to grow with respect to the people who stay stuck? We're not able to grow that much.
Great question. So I know from practical experience, and I'll just call myself out, lack of integrity. So in my 20s and 30s, I would exaggerate things. I would embellish things. I would lie about things to close a deal, get a sale, meet a girl. And what happens is in life, time will either promote you or time will expose you. It's just a matter of time whether you get promoted or you get exposed. And what I realized was by age 38, things were not working for me. I was up and down financially. I didn't have the quality of life that I wanted, I desired, and I had on my vision boards. And so I actually took a seminar one time, and I met a woman in a seminar who was an integrity coach. And I thought I knew what integrity was, but practically I didn't. I know, intellectually I knew what integrity was, but my life didn't demonstrate integrity. It demonstrated a lot of holes in integrity, a lot of out of integrities.
Yeah.
So I hired an integrity coach to come in. I paid her a lot of money, and she did an integrity audit on my life, which is very confronting, sweating, shaking, nervous energy, something I did not want to do once I started going through the process with her with this integrity audit. What I discovered was I had a lot of blind spots. When she interviewed my friends and family and people in my network, in my inner circle, and I realized that, oh my gosh, I've exaggerated things. I've embellished things. And I wasn't being accountable and responsible to my word. And something to remember, if people are taking notes, you want to write this down. Your words create your world. Let me give you a practical example. We hear in the business world today around the world that talk is cheap, right? We hear that talk is cheap. It's in books, it's in seminars, it's in courses all over the world. Talk is cheap. Let me take it a step further. Most people cheapen their talk because their words have no power. When they walk into a room because they said they're going to be there on time and they're late, they said they're going to do something and they didn't follow through and commit to their commitments. They didn't keep their accountability. So the key thing is what drastically, measurably changed my life was the discipline and the accountability of what the words that come out of my mouth, that when I give my word to something, it's done. It's a non-negotiable. And in fact, to create a structure, an existent system, like today, I'll give you an example. Okay. So this is my iPhone. So what I do was I live by my calendar, because if it's not in my calendar, there's no evidence it exists in my life. So first clue when people are doing due diligence and when somebody's promising something to you, if you don't see them in real time structure things in front of you, that's a clue. Behavior never lies. Watch and observe that. If that person doesn't have a structure, the chances of them following through and getting it done by when specific measurement actually decreases drastically. Okay. A high performance person will structure it. So first thing they do is you live by your calendar. Second thing, what I do is I have alarms for everything in my phone. Okay. So when I give my word to something, I have an alarm for it. Now, if the alarm doesn't go audible, it vibrates. So the key thing is I bring things into an existence by having a structure that keeps me accountable and responsible and disciplined no matter what. So I could be involved in a conversation with one of my staff members, my teammates, and my alarm goes off and I have to pivot to the next task or my next accountability. So that changed my life big time. And you'll find that high performance people are accountable and responsible to what they give their words to the point that it's almost like if they don't follow through on that commitment, it's like cutting off their finger because they've got some skin in the game. And so what I'm really focused on now is what I give my word to, because my word matters. My word has power. And also, so I'm a big hiker. I hike all over the world. Many countries I've hiked in. I've done Kilimanjaro. I'm doing Everest Base Camp soon. I'm going to the Himalayas over in Nepal and Tibet. I hike all over the world, multiple countries, right? Every year. And the thing is that I use hiking as a way to do due diligence on people. So I have many people trying to get access to my calendar to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner meetings and virtual meetings and in-person meetings and coffee meetings. And what I do is my team and I filter them to bring people out onto a hike because behavior never lies. And so majority of people don't show up. So we just filter and eliminate those people out. Then the people who show up, we watch and observe how they show up, because the thing is, do they show up on time? Did they bring a whistle? Did they bring a water bottle? Did they wear the proper shoes, proper clothes? Do they have a trip plan? They tell somebody where they're going to be. All these little indicators as part of the due diligence checklist to watch and observe people. Because if I'm going to invest with somebody as an investor, or I'm going to do a joint venture, strategic alliance, or a merger acquisition, I want to know the people I'm doing business with. And everybody has the best game face on. But I want to see behind the scenes if things aren't working, what's the downside, right? When challenges, obstacles, things occur, there's no money in the bank account to make payroll. What does the person do? Do they quit? Did they give up when things get hard, when things get difficult? Or do they persevere no matter what? And so the best thing to do
Yeah.
is practically take people out through an experiential exercise hiking, because when you take them out in the wilderness, there's wild animals. And so now you see people's true authentic self because the social mask comes off and now everything's on
Hmm.
display with human behavior.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, so we will move towards that Himalaya section later. I want to discuss on that Himalaya trekking and your hiking part, but somehow I feel that don't you feel, sir Darren, that nowadays on YouTube when we go across, there is so much of content available on motivation and
Yes.
about growth, but it really makes me think that is the mindset alone enough? Because sometimes I feel that people tend to overlook like structure, discipline. As you correctly said, the discipline is very important, and proper system has to be aligned. What's your take on that, sir?
You bet. The key thing is proximity is power. You got to watch who you're modeling and who you're taking information from, as what's their history and experience. Right? There's a lot of professors in universities and colleges around the world that are teaching business classes that, in my opinion, aren't qualified because they never ran a business before. I want to see a
Okay.
P&L statement. I want to see a financial network. I have all these financial planners around North America always wanting to get together for lunch or dinner or take me golfing or something like that. And they're really just trying to pitch and sell you to become a client, right? Because I'm a high net worth investor. And so the first thing I say in part of the discovery process is, listen, I'm open to having a conversation with you, but full transparency, I'm going to ask for disclosure. I want you to show me your personal financial net worth statement. I want to see the products and services you invest in, but I want to see your financial report card. So you tell me you got a degree as a financial planner? Great. How did you do in class? Great. So if you did well going to school and getting your chartered financial planning degree, I want to see how you manage money in your own household when no one's around. So I want you, we'll sign a non-disclosure agreement, a confidentiality agreement. I want to see your financial report card for your financial house to see if you've got your money right and you got things in order. I have a personal fitness trainer. Okay. I'm working on visible abs right now in a 6-pack, 53 years of age. My trainer is one of the top elite trainers for fitness and bodybuilding on the planet. Okay. Guys, elite level, highest level you can get in the world, incredible human being. I did my homework on getting the guy like that. But the first thing I did when I interviewed the guy, in the first 90 seconds, I had him take his shirt off because I want to see abs in a 6-pack. I don't care about your degrees on the wall. Show me the body I want to build in the next 12 to 18 months. Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm looking at. I want a guy to coach me who's already got practical, measurable results. So the key thing is, a lot of this information on the internet is great. A lot of it's fluff, in my opinion, because you got to get around. A lot of these people who are showing cars and jets and fancy watches and homes, it's all sizzle.
Correct. Building upon your experience, Sir Darren, I would want to understand what's the difference do you see as we are talking about the continents? You just talk about the continents, we are from the different continents. So, what do you feel? What's the difference in the mindset of the people from the emerging economies like India, I believe, with respect to
Yeah,
the established economies like Canada and US? What do you feel?
for sure.
What's the basic difference? Yeah.
So North American entitlement economy. So a lot of
Yeah.
the young men and women generation, they feel entitled to things. They don't realize the 10,000 hours behind the scenes to go to school, to get good grades, to build a business. People see the overnight success because they see all the Instagram, the TikTok, all that stuff. But you don't see all the, people see my life today, but they don't see that I made over 100,000 cold calls over a 5-year period. I was making 400 cold calls a day, 2,000 cold calls a week with a 98% rejection rate to build my corporate training business, right? Massive rejection, adversities, failures, 2 to 3 months paying my bills, okay? Getting eviction notices, okay? A lot of stress, a lot of pressure, but I persevered and I had eventually some breakthroughs, which then changed my life, okay? But I had to hustle and grind. And so there's that. Another thing is in India or Africa, for example, is realizing that if you want to, like a lot of people want to make more money, the way you make
Yeah.
money is you solve a problem. If you want to make a lot of money really quick in a short period of time, you solve rich people's problems. Okay. You go to rich, affluent neighborhoods and you wash their cars, you pressure wash their driveways, you paint their homes, whatever it is, you find odd jobs, landscaping, pool clean, whatever it is. But the fastest path to cash, if you want to make a lot of cash legally quickly, is solve rich people's problems. And guess what? Rich people will always pay to solve problems with speed and execution because they want results of getting things done. Time is money. And what they really want is they don't want more. They can always make more money. That's the easy part. What you can't buy back is time. So you want to buy back and qualify and protect your time. So those are the key things. And so you solve rich people's problems. Like, I'll give you an example. I was with somebody last year who's a lawyer in the United States of America. And this guy makes 10 million United States dollars a year. $10 million a year as a lawyer. And I tell some of my lawyer friends, I said, yeah, I know a lawyer makes $10 million a year. And they go, yeah, come on, Darren. What are you smoking or drinking here? There's nobody's a lawyer makes 10 million. I said, yeah, he solves rich people's problems. He deals with rich people's divorces. He's a prosecutor. I mean, he solves rich people's problems. And so he has a high, he's over a couple $1,000 an hour, legal fees. So he makes 10 million bucks a year. Okay. So the thing is that's a big thing, is that we live in a global economy today. But the key thing is that people think, oh, I'm in India, I'm struggling, things are hard, but they don't look outside geographically out of their neighborhood and say, okay, how are things in the United States? How are things in Canada? How are things in Australia? How are things in the UK or Europe? So you want to expand your reach, just like people in Africa I deal with all the time. Like, stop thinking about being in Kenya or Uganda, East Africa, and how hard things are. Start to expand your reach and build relationships with people around the world who get to know you, like you, and trust you. Make sure you build integrity by keeping your word and being accountable, responsible, and consistent with your word, and build it up and be relational, not transactional. So don't be the guy or the woman that sends a friend request through social media and then boom, in the direct message. Like I got 4 people today who direct messaging me on one of my social media channels looking for money. Okay, asking for money. Delete. Okay?
Absolutely.
Why? Because it's like a one-night stand. You're just trying to get something from me without building a relationship. You don't care about me. It's what's in it for them. Delete. Out of my life. Because they're a waste of time, because these people are just looking for something. They're never going to change. They're going to live in a vicious cycle for the rest of their life, and you're just enabling these people. So delete them out of your life. Don't even spend any time or energy. I used to spend time and energy trying to coach them. Not no more. Delete. Okay? Because they're a waste of your time, because they're never going to change. So get around people who is like, hey, look, I've been struggling for the last 10 years of my life. I'm sick and tired of living my life this way. I'm just looking for a second chance. Can you give me some practical advice to help me? That's somebody I'll help. I'll be a contribution. If somebody just reaches out looking for money, no, delete. So that's the big thing, is sometimes people in the third world, they're looking for the first world to come and rescue them, right? And that's not what you do. Is you look at, how can I solve a problem? How can I serve people? And by solving a problem and serving people, money changes hands when problems are solved. Money changes hands when problems are solved. Okay.
Correct.
I'm not all about making money. I'm about solving problems and serving people as a fair means of exchange to create win-win opportunities. That's what I'm about. I'm a problem solver.
And one thing I believe in sales, I believe that it's very important that you have to be counterintuitive. You have to certainly solve the problem. We are not here for money. We have to certainly solve the problem of the person who is in front of you. Unless you do that, you're not solving the purpose, actually. So he would never be interested in you unless you solve the problem that he's facing.
That's right.
As you also said that you were taking calls, 400 calls a day, and that there were 98% of rejections. So
Correct.
I believe in my own life that rejection is very important, Sir Darren. It shapes you. Yeah, that's feedback.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Yeah.
What's your take on rejection? Yeah.
Well, rejection. So whatever you lack in skill, you make it up in numbers. Right. So I used to be shy and insecure, not good enough when I was younger to meet girls, because I was in special education. So in Canada here, I'm Canadian. I used to take 10 Canadian pennies, put them in my left pocket. And every day my target was to go talk to 10 girls at random. Hi, good morning, hello, hi, good afternoon, good evening. And every time I say hello or make contact with a woman, she'd smile or say something back to me. I would secretly transfer the penny from my left pocket to my right pocket. And the target was each day was to have 10 pennies transferred to my right pocket. And I would do that even when I was knocking on doors and I was cold calling and doing trade shows and doing conferences and doing live events and doing farmers markets, all these things to look at, lead generation. That's the hard way. Now I go and buy companies that already have hundreds or thousands of clients, right? Through acquisitions. But I did things the hard way with the trade shows and with the farmers markets and door to door and cold calling, all that kind of stuff. And it's hard work, but I'm grateful because it taught me a lot of what to do in my life. I learned what to do and what not to do, but it develops thicker skin. Like, I'm rejection proof today. The toughest thing to sell, the toughest thing to sell in the world? Toughest thing to sell? What do you think it is? What's the hardest thing to sell in the world?
You please tell me. I'm not able to figure that out right now.
The hardest thing to sell in the world is Jesus. It's the
Oh,
hardest
why
thing to
is
sell
it
in the
so?
world. Well, selling religion. It's the hardest thing to
Yeah.
sell. So you get
Yeah. Yeah.
so the best salespeople in the world are the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Mormons.
Hmm.
I have a lot of my friends. We hire Jehovah's Witnesses and we hire Mormons because they do missionary work selling Jesus door to door. So you talk about
Okay.
rejection. When you're cold calling and door knocking neighborhoods, you deal with every person from all walks of life. And
Hmm.
when you try to convert people to your religion or your faith or your belief, you meet resistance, you meet confrontation. And people are
Hmm.
nice to you and they're nasty to you and they're evil to you. And you see everything,
Correct.
the good, the bad, the ugly of humanity when you're doing that. And so these people develop a high level of tolerance of rejection. So when
Hmm.
they're doing their 18 to 24-month missionary trip somewhere in the world through their religious organization, when they're finished their missionary trip, they are bulletproof and unstoppable in sales. And they're the greatest people to hire to do sales and marketing for your company. Why? Because they've been in the
Hmm.
trenches, they've been in the battlefield, dealing with that.
Hmm.
And so they're phenomenal at sales. I have a friend of mine who built a company within 5 years to $400 million in revenue selling solar door to door. And he would hire
Hmm.
Mormons to go door to
Hmm.
door selling solar across the United States of America in the sun states, California, Arizona, Florida, and made a fortune.
Okay.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So Darren, that was a really powerful perspective, I would say. I would like to shift the gears now, in order to understand on something I know you are very much deeply involved in. That is business strategy at a larger scale. You have been involved with multiple business and scaling journeys. What's your vision when it comes to acquisitions, especially when we talk about smashing numbers? That is growing through buying or partnering with other companies. What's your take on that, sir?
Great question. So the problem we're solving right now across the United States, America, and Canada is an aging population of men and women called baby boomers. And these are men and
Yeah.
women that are, in their 60s, that are in their transition towards their sunset years of retirement. And they want to spend their quality of life with their children, their grandchildren, doing humanitarian stuff, things with their church, nonprofits, or do some travel, or do something with their relationship with their family, right? And so what we do is I have a large network across North America, a lot of people, access to a lot of resources that I've developed over the last few decades. And so what we're doing right now with smashing numbers is we're doing what's called a roll-up strategy. And for people that are in
Okay.
business or new to business, research what a roll-up strategy is. Okay. It's a strategy that successful people do. And what it is it's easier to acquire revenue than to actually go out and create revenue. So it's about buying an existing business through seller financing is one of the
Hmm.
strategies. And so we've done multiple acquisitions over the last few years with my two
Hmm.
other general partners. And we're very grateful. We've got a great operational team that run all the day-to-day operations. And so we're looking at probably around 25 acquisitions over about a 7-year period. We're in about year three and a
Okay.
half year right now. And my personal target is because I love growing and scaling business, is to get to 50 million in annual recurring revenue, United States dollars. So 50 million annual recurring revenue, and then potentially probably do an exit for a high 9 figures. That's my personal. My two other partners, I want to speak for them, but that's what I
Hmm.
envision. It's a 7-year plan, that I
Hmm.
have that I started a few years ago. I thought I'm going to commit 5 to 7 years. Now I'm in for 7 years, locked in, and I'm just
Hmm.
focused on that. And the
Hmm.
key thing is I love boring businesses, and I also love
Yeah.
monthly recurring revenue, and I also love solving problems. So everywhere I go, I know people that need bookkeeping, they need accounting, they need payroll services, they need tax planning, whether they're in the United States or America or Canada. And so it's a recession-proof business because you got to pay the IRS, you got to pay the CRA here in Canada. And the cool thing is that it doesn't matter if there's a natural disaster or you don't agree politically what's going on in North America. You still got to pay your taxes. You still got to make your payroll. You still got to do your bookkeeping. You still got to do your accounting. So it's one of
Yeah.
these business models that's very boring, but it's steady and it's predictable and it's consistent, but it produces predictable revenue, which is monthly recurring revenue.
Correct. It seems to be very interesting, I believe. So, whenever, Sir Darren, you're looking in for a company, I believe, What are the key things that you look for before deciding whether it's worth acquiring or aligning with or not?
Sure, good question. So we want to solve a problem. First of all, we want someone who is in the position that they're 60 plus years of age and older, man or woman in North America, and they are a baby boomer that they want to retire. So somebody who's in their 20s or 30s or 40s, they still got lots of life, still got lots of runway yet. They're happy, they're content with their career, their business. They're not looking to transition unless you make them a ridiculous offer with a ridiculous number. But they're happy running their operation, their firm, right? So first thing we want to do is solve a problem, because we realize that now we have leverage and time on our side because they want to transition out, right? And so there's a sense of urgency. So the sense of urgency is solve a problem. Next thing we want to look at is that how many partners are involved in that CPA firm, for example. Is it a mom and pop? Is it a husband and wife that run it? Do they have a couple other general partners? So we want to know that. Do they have real estate assets? Do they actually own the physical bricks and mortar building that they're in? And do they have other tenants? Is that building bought and paid for, or is there a mortgage on that building? And if they have other tenants, do they have positive cash flow? So now not only we can buy a operational business for smashing numbers, but now we can buy real estate holdings as well. So now we get two transactions out of the business. So we look at that. Geographically, where are they located? What's their clientele mix? Okay, in the bookkeeping, accounting, tax planning space. How they've been doing financially. What's their last 3 to 4 to 5 years financials, right? Of cash-based financials we look at. What's their reputation in their local marketplace? Are they in good standing? Do they have good character? Do they have a good reputation online? Okay, very important. And then we look at what's the timeline for this man or woman to sell. Is it 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 18, 24 months? What's their timeline that they want to transition out? These are some key indicators we look at. With smashing numbers, we look at companies anywhere from $100,000 up to about 1.5 million United States dollars. That's our focus, our scope of work, our buy box. Because anything over 1.5 million, private equity is going to go for them. Okay, we go for more of the lower mom and pop businesses across North America, and then the collaboration. In smashing numbers, we're all about collaboration. We're all about culture and collaboration. Is this man or woman, are they going to come work with us for a minimum of 6-month commitment during the transition planning process? So we want to make sure they're open and they're adapted to that they're willing to come on board for 6 months with us, give a 6-month commitment. Then after that, they can work full-time, part-time, or seasonal with us, either in person or remotely of their choosing. So that's what we look for. I have a checklist of due diligence that we go through, a step-by-step process that we go through the discovery process, then due diligence. But early stages of the discovery process, that's what we look for.
So Darren, what do you believe by looking for a company? If we follow this checklist that you have been provided, if anybody follows, if any entrepreneur follows that, what do you believe? Where is that? Which is that step wherein they could go wrong during this?
Yeah. So disclosure around financials. So making sure the financials are up to date, they're accurate is a big thing. Making sure that we can verify their clientele, that their revenue is real, and that they have the clientele. They say they have the clientele. Making sure that that the CPA is in good standing. We dealt with someone a couple of years ago that this was a bad actor across North America. This CPA was a bad actor. He had a lot of financial debts. He had a marriage that was blowing up, that he was having a secret life outside the marriage that got found out. And we realized that through the discovery and due diligence process that this guy was a bad actor, but he also created a lot of risks. But when we met him, this beautiful picture that we bought into originally, but then we started to realize that behavior never lies. So make sure that you trust, but also verify, but also do a character reference as well. Not only look at the financials, which is important, and look at the data room of all the things as part of the checklist, but also do your detective work in regards to his character or her character, of how they're known in their community and how other CPAs in the industry, maybe their competitors in the industry, even real estate agents, mortgage brokers, legal people, it's a small world in these business communities around North America. And, everybody knows a CPA, everybody knows a mortgage broker, everybody knows a real estate agent, everybody knows a lawyer, right? So start asking around, and you'd be amazed at what you can find out by a little bit of detective work in a very short period of time with social media. And so that's something to learn, is because it can be a blind spot, but it can cost you. And so that's important to to do your homework on that and trust but verify. But go through discovery process, then through due diligence. Don't skip over due diligence. Very important.
Okay. So Darren, this is something very new for me. I have also not listened to this before. That you go so deep into someone's company that you go in to check whether they have a personal life, the personal life is going fine or not. So this is something very informative and inspirational for me, I believe.
Absolutely,
So,
for sure.
sir, yeah.
Because it comes back to integrity. It comes back to integrity. Without integrity, nothing works.
Yeah.
Time will either promote you or time will expose you. It's just a matter of time. And this
Correct.
gentleman, as we were going through the discovery and due diligence process, he got exposed. And then what did he do? He just disappeared because he knew he got found out.
Okay. So Darren, now I would like to move to the traveling section that excites me the most.
Sure.
So I believe that traveling teaches you so much that you really can't learn anywhere else. Uh, I was going through your LinkedIn also, Sir Darren, since past 2 3 days, and I
Okay.
could see that there are many posts related to trekking, I believe, climbing. So, do you have any plans of climbing Himalayas or mountains like peaks like Mount Everest? Do you have any plans of that as well in your mind?
Yeah. So in July of 2023, I successfully summited Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania,
Oh
East
wow!
Africa at 19,340 feet, 5,895 meters in elevation. I'm going to be doing Mount Everest Base Camp. I won't do Mount Everest, but I'll do Mount Everest Base Camp at 17,050
Okay.
feet. And then I'm going to be going over in a few months to do the Himalayas with some friends for a 2 week hiking, climbing expedition trek, which will be going all over the Himalayas. So I'm just getting the itinerary finalized this week with the team.
Okay.
But I'm about that. And then in a couple weeks, I'm actually heading back to Alaska in the United States of America on Norwegian Cruise Lines. And I'm going to be hiking and trekking all over the state of Alaska, up in the big
Okay,
mountains.
that's very nice.
Yeah.
That's very nice to hear that. And do you have to like take the oxygen cylinders as well with you over the Himalayas?
Yes.
Like when we
Yes.
talk about Mount Everest, yeah.
Yeah, at high elevation, our guides and our porters bring oxygen. We do a lot of scenario planning of best case scenario, likely case scenario, and worst possible case scenario. So I'm big on scenario planning, and I'm big on a risk management plan as well. I'm very big. Anybody knows me, I'm all about risk management plan and scenario planning. And so we go through all that beforehand, and we make sure we have the proper safety gear. We have the emergency plan. We have the safety plan. We have all that in place to prepare just in case worst case scenarios. So we look at that, everything from weather to climbing gear to our health. There's a whole series of checklists of things that we go through to over prepare. I use the keyword over prepare so that we're
Yeah.
safe. Everybody has loved ones. Everybody has family and friends that people love and care about them. We want to make sure that people come home safely. I do Mount Vinson in Antarctica here last year, and I called off the expedition to go to Antarctica because I felt that I was undertrained and underprepared to deal with really cold weather, and I didn't want to lose my fingers or my toes. I am at a stage and age of my life where I don't want to lose fingers and toes, and so to me, with the risk management, it was too high risk and too high of a probable chance that I was going to lose some fingers and toes in Antarctica at Mount Vinson, so I didn't do the expedition.
And I believe, Sir Darren, it's always good to not aim for Mount Everest peak at the first go, because you need to. I guess, as per my little knowledge that I have, you need to acclimatize yourself for.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah.
That's
So,
right. Yeah.
yeah. So, Sir Darren, that was about the traveling, I would say. But I somehow feel that everyone lives in a bubble of their own, wherein they set certain goals for themselves, and once they clear them, they tend to tell them as they are now successful enough. So
Mhm.
I believe you must have various goals that you have set up for yourself, and I believe most of them have been. You must have achieved most of them. So, what's that one thing that motivates you to go beyond the success that you have achieved right now?
Yeah, great question. So I have over 7,000 written goals for my life in a master plan I've been working on for about 20 years of my life now. And so I'm constantly checking off goals, adding goals with that. The biggest thing is once you achieve success, the step beyond that is fulfillment. Okay. So now it's
Yeah.
about fulfillment for me. It's about joy. It's about aliveness. It's about abundance. It's about generosity. It's about making a difference. It's about creating a legacy. So to me, it's about building schools around the world through Link Foundation, which I co-founded with Tatiana. Because I like to make a difference because I was not good in school. So, my void in life was I wasn't good in school. So now my value is to serve and enrich other kids' lives and communities around the world. The thing is, fulfillment is I love hiking and I use it for a lot of business as well, networking, collaboration, getting to know people at a deep level. Because, when you're farting with people, you're birding with people, you're sweating with people, you're climbing mountains with people, you really bond deeply because you're out in the wilderness with people. And people have to get to know you, like you, and trust you at a very quick rate because their safety and their life depends on you when you're out in the wilderness. Okay. So it's different than being in a boardroom or a coffee shop or a nice restaurant when you take somebody out on a hiking trail. They get to know you at a very deep level because their social mask comes off because there's controlled discomfort. There's situational awareness, right? So I like that. And when it comes to goals, I'm a big goal setter. Like I plan goals out. I have even on my phone, I have phone. So for example, here's a picture of a jet, right? Like every hour I have a different picture comes up on my iPhone of my
Oh,
vision
that's very nice.
of different goals and dreams that I want. I fly commercial a lot, but I also like to fly private. I don't need to own the jet, but I want to have the option to fly in a jet to save time. Because to me, this jet is a time machine. Because if I have big, audacious goals to do big things around the world, I need to have a time machine to get me around the world with speed and execution in a very efficient manner to still maintain the quality of life. So I'm always looking at different ways that I can compress time, to buy back time, but also qualify time and protect time.
And so, Darren, also I believe from inside that when we talk about money, money is at the end, once you achieve a certain number, it is immaterial for me.
Sure. Yep.
What it is for you? So, what's that number that you believe it's good enough for you to live your life with full fulfillment? That's what you said.
So the target for me is $300 million and then give it all away to the Foundation for Philanthropy and $5 million liquid cash as an emergency fund.
Okay. That's very nice. So, Darren, this was an incredible conversation. So many insights. So, before we wrap up, I would like to have a quick rapid fire session wherein I will just ask you questions, and whatever comes to your mind at front, you just answer me that.
Okay.
Are you ready, Sir Darren?
I'm ready. Absolutely.
So, one word for success.
Fulfillment.
Fulfillment. What do you believe, discipline or motivation?
Discipline.
Now, this one is my favorite. A book that changed your life.
Book to my life is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Okay, I'll get to that book. I'll search it and I'll definitely read that book. Failure or regret, so Darren?
Failure, regret. I'd say failure because failure is a good teacher.
Correct. Yeah. And what about acquisition or organic growth? What do you feel with that?
So acquisition is faster. Organic growth takes longer. So it depends on your timeline in life, your age and stage of life, and what your end goal is. But I would focus more right now on my stage and age of life because I only have so much time left. I can always make more money, but I'm running out of time. Maybe acquisition.
Okay. A habit you wish you should have started earlier.
Discipline with health and fitness. I ate a lot of processed foods, ate a lot of junk food, and I didn't take care of my body until just a few years ago. And I'm in my early 50s now. I neglected my body until I was 48 years of age.
Same, I'm also trying that level. Right now, I'm not in a good shape right present. I'm also trying to loosen up weight to look better, to look as young as you are.
Yeah.
And finally, one message for all our Indian entrepreneurs.
That your success is someone else's miracle. And one of the key strategies in my life is making requests. So for every question you don't ask, the answer is always no. And so what I invite people to consider doing is look at your life of where you're not making requests. Now, when you make a request, people either will accept it, they'll decline it, or they'll counteroffer it. But the key thing is sometimes you got to make a powerful request, an outrageous request, an unreasonable request. But start making requests for things. And you'd be amazed that the majority of people will accept your request and it will expedite your results and push you forward. There's many people who are in jobs that don't make requests for a raise. They don't make
Yeah.
requests for the promotion. They don't call up their
Hmm.
bank or financial institution and make a request to increase their credit score. They don't make a request to have a mentor or a coach. They don't make a request to ask somebody out on a date. They don't make requests for someone to invest in their company or to buy their product and service. So start making requests. If people around me, I'm a request making machine. Just watch any child at a grocery store when they're going to the checkout and kids are all, Mom, can I have this? Dad, can I have this? Mom, right? They're request making machines. And as
Hmm.
adults, we want to look good and we don't want to look bad. It's a condition of being a human being, looking good, not wanting to look bad. So because of looking good and not wanting to look bad, we don't want to make requests because we want to look stupid. But the key strategy, if you want to grow and scale your life personally, professionally, no matter what area of life you're in, is make requests. You'd be amazed when you start making requests. Like even when I go into hotels, I'll make a request for a complimentary upgrade to the penthouse suite or the honeymoon suite. I'll make a
Yeah.
request in restaurants for a complimentary appetizer, right? And you'd be amazed that the majority of the time they'll accept your requests.
And somehow I believe sometimes what I feel is that people are not that confident enough to
That's
project
right.
themselves. You need to have that confidence, and you need, or sometimes I feel that they are not in a condition wherein they can come up in front and say that I need an appraisal or something like
Well,
that.
that's where you build your confidence is by actually doing the work. And the more you
Yeah.
do it, you lack in skill, you make it up in numbers. So by
Yes.
making lots and lots of requests, you'll build your confidence in doing that.
Yeah. And one question from my side: what's your favorite cuisine in terms of food? Yeah.
Sushi. Sushi would be my number one food.
Sushi.
Sushi.
Have you tried Indian food before?
I love Indian food. Living here in Vancouver, we call this little India here in Vancouver, Canada. You
Yeah.
know, high Indian population. So there's Indian
Yeah.
restaurants all over the Vancouver area.
So what do you like? Is it the butter chicken or chicken tikka?
I love the butter chicken, yeah, but I don't like the
Butter
hot
chicken.
spicy food. Yeah, mild on
Yeah.
the spice, but I love butter chicken.
But I would say you definitely come over India, and
Yes.
uh, I I specifically will take you to a place very nice and wherein you'll be able to have the authentic taste of butter chicken, which
Oh,
you
I'd be
won't find
honored.
in Canada, I believe.
I would be honored. I love traveling, and
Yeah.
I now have a new standard for my life as of last year to see 10 new countries a year. I've seen
Okay.
56 countries on 4 continents, but my
Yeah.
target, by age 65, I'm 53 now, is to see 150 countries on all 7 continents.
That's very nice. So, Sir Darren, this has been an incredible conversation. Not just inspiring, I believe, but deeply insightful from both a mindset and business
Mhm.
perspective. Thank you for sharing your journey and your thinking as well as your vision. I'm
I'm
sure a
grateful
lot
to
of
be.
people, yeah, I'm sure a lot of people, especially in India, are going to take something meaningful and actionable from this. So, Darren, truly grateful to have you here.
Grateful to serve. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sir Darren.